Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spin Rack. We also have,
Calvin Ellis, ready to rock.
well, it seems Rob Liefeld was snubbed at the premiere by Kevin Feige, and there were some other issues of how he wanted to be credited in um, Deadpool and Wolverine. Not at the end, but in the beginning, similar to the Superman creators. After, in the 1978, the Superman the movie, and he's pointing out this terrible treatment from Kevin Feige, being embarrassed, diminished, and they meant to defeat him. Which is saying he's cutting his ties after he finishes his Deadpool team up. That will be it for him and Marvel. He will be talking about their movies, whether good or bad, on this podcast. But as far as the working relationship between them, he's saying he's cutting ties, similar to when he cut ties with to do Image Comics. Well, actually, he didn't actually cut ties. They did talk the game of moving on, doing the next thing, but he said he always had a relationship with Marvel. So to fans, everyone felt he cut ties with Marvel. With his announcement when he came back to cable, I think it's cable 75 or 72, he said he always had a good relationship with Marvel. Of course, he also did Heroes Reborn. So what are your thoughts on this? Goes to premiere, and Kevin Feige didn't turn to the creator and said, "Thanks, Rob. This is Rob Liefeld. Here's his family." That's basically what he wanted. What do you say to that?
Um, hmm, I don't know if that. Hmm. I just, I'm not sure how well. I'm not sure. I can't trust in the veracity of Rob Liefeld when it comes to this. Okay, I just, I know he got credited. The idea of him being credited in the beginning, to be very frank, one of the reasons why Joe Caesar and Joe Shuster are credited in that particular manner is because it's Superman. Okay, and they had to have all these negotiations because these guys, were down and out. Okay, hadn't really made any money based on the creation, and the first movie was coming out, and it looked terrible. It looked terrible that these guys were where they were at, and DC's about to, make a mill, if you will, based on a character they created. Okay, so these were one of the things that they got in negotiation. Rob is not. He's not Joe Shuster. He's not in the same position. At that, and then Deadpool isn't Superman. So I'm really not sure what he's angling for there. Really not sure what he's angling for. But that's one of his reasons. Mm, it's tough to see that he's really going to cut ties based on the fact that he's being credited afterwards as opposed to up front, because again, that is something that's pretty much for singular creators. That's a Stanley, Jack Kirby, Siegel and Schuster, those guys at the end of the day. And while Deadpool is popular, been very successful, in the films and comics, I just don't necessarily agree with his reasoning here. But if he wants to cut ties, go right ahead. I'm just not 100% certain on the veracity of this. Because remember, Rob Liefeld is the same guy who's been predicting DC's downfall since he left DC from doing, what was the series?
Hawkman and what's the name? What's that other thing he did? Forget the other thing he did. Hawkman and Deathstroke. He did Deathstroke.
Yeah, since then. So I'm really not sure if there's something more to it. I can understand if he wasn't being credited at all, but the whole, you hear in the movie theater, before the movie starts, ladies and gentlemen, Rob Liefeld and his family, please. Like, I'm not too sure about that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Rob, but it is nutty. um, let's see. Here we got this other thing in Screen Rant where he's talking about it a little more in depth than the other thing. So,
I mean, did he get free tickets to the movie? If you did, hey, there you go.
well, that's the other thing of many a comic creator has mentioned being going to basically Hollywood folk being Hollywood folk, and comic guys being it's a different sort of world. It's a different not the no pun intended, but the
Well,
thing is.
the story. No, I mean the stories I would always hear is like these guys who create the characters show up for the film and can't get in.
Yeah, like the gag Stanley and Jack Kirby. They go into the wedding of Sue, Reed and Sue, and they can't get in. So, um, it's I don't know. The thing is the fact of Rob Liefeld and Kevin Feige not having any relationship really shouldn't be a big deal to him. You know, at the same time, they might the movies and the TV, the movies and the comic books are two different things. And you can be the creator, this, that, and the other, next to, I don't know that, you know, that Tim Burton is doing that much time hanging out with Bob Kane, that sort of thing. And the thing of it is, the point of getting a ticket to it is the thing. Getting a ticket and going there, saying you got snubbed, he didn't talk to me, he didn't say anything to me, or I didn't, that sort of thing. It's kind of tough, and to kind of point out that, hey, one of the other things that we have where he said that the Kirby family sued, the Ditko family sued, and this, that, and the other. But you can't. The hard part is you can't compare, as you said. I'm just going to add on to what you said. The biggest, what you did already mention, that there was not a court case, but there was a public thing about credit. So the movie is saying it's answered. They did for the time, was it 20 grand a year? It was decent. As well, they did create Superman, but through the years of not being involved, having their names early on was a big thing, and they did a bunch. They did. I think at least I know one special where they talked about Superman, and they showed up at the premiere, and they were celebrated, and this, that, and the other. You can't compare not making any money outside their initial time when they were working on Superman, where they participated, and then being, post the war, DC kind of infiltrating and taking over, moving the studio to their location while Joe was out. There's a whole period where they're not getting paid. They were getting paid, like whatever the comics they did. And then compare to Rob Liefeld, he has a contract. And this is the thing that people forget, right? And this is the thing which I guess got they got John Byrne in trouble for saying, if you come into the room and you sign this contract and it says XYZ, Marvel owns it, this, that, and the other, then you say, hey, how could you do this to me? That was the idea of creators wrong, which he got in a lot of trouble for, saying, hey, asking the creator to hold up their portion of the bargain, where they say, I signed this, I'm okay, I'm signing this away, it's successful, and saying, oh my God, how could you do this to me? You shiesty. Well, now, Rob Liefeld is not even that. Rob Liefeld came in there, he saw you can get a 4% percentage, and Marvel was on the game. They're looking at his sketchbook and saying, like, they're similar, and even though his characters are mostly derivative, Dave Cockrum had a ton of different characters that were unlike stuff you've seen before. Rob Life had a lot of derivative characters, but Marvel's like, yeah, let's put these characters in there. And they're like, well, we got to sign the 4% of creative percentage. So you get money if we do the Mutant Liberation Society, you get money for cable, you get money for this. And he's like, yeah, I'm signing away. And it's like, wait a second, I'm doing books, my books are selling, I'm getting this royalty. He's participating. He didn't say that Marvel took a break. He said he always participated. So he might have escaped the bankruptcy, but he had to tell us if they stopped. But he said when they're going through bankruptcy, Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No. So I've always credited Liefeld with having the presence of mind to realize, hey, I can participate in this. I mean, he said this himself. He said once he realized that, hey, if I participate in this, I get a percentage. If this character hits, then he started creating. He created all these characters. He's like, okay, I'm gonna create this, and one issue, I got 6 new characters. And if you look at the rate of return that he got for what he did in comparison to what other creators have done, he made out pretty well. Yes. Okay, there are other characters, but the 2 characters that he's going to be known for most of all, Deadpool, Cable.
Yeah,
and those are 2 pretty big characters in Marvel. and he participates regularly in that. So again, and I've complimented him on this. That's good. If you're going to be able to, participate in this, meaning that I created this character and I know I got a percentage of it, and a good percentage, not like some 0% or half a percentage. 4% is really good.
Yes.
That's really good. I mean, I don't want to. I really don't want to get into the whole math on the whole thing, but you know what? I won't get into the whole math on the thing. But that's a good percentage. Trust me on that. That's a good percentage. So I'm like, okay, good. But you're already in a position. Again, I try to think of that.
Keep that. I just want to say, start on 4% of 3.5 million. 4% of 3.5 million, and that's not including royalties. Royalties and a percentage thing is a great deal. It's a great deal that he knew he was getting when he signed up. That's all I want to say. I just want to do that little bit of math, put that on to all these years he's been participating with the movies. So
yeah, I hope everybody gets it too. Because I really don't want to go, I'm not getting these numbers. Put it like this: if you had $1 million in a bank account and you got 4% interest on the year, you're going to get 40 grand.
So
okay, so that's pretty much where you're at. Use your multipliers based on the amount of money, from 1 million up, but that's pretty much where you're at the end of the day. So that's pretty. And again, that's your baseline. Okay, that's not including everything else. That's your baseline. So that's a very good number, especially in comparison to guys who are not. You can be Rob Liefeld, who fully participated, or you can be Ed Brubaker, who's I don't like to slate Ed Brubaker, but Ed Brubaker, who's moaning to the press that hey, I created this dude and I'm not really participating in it, at the end of the day, because he just pretty much did a redress on Bucky. So there's a big difference. And I think Rob Liefeld should be very much credited for that. He saw what it was, and he took full advantage of it, and he's benefiting from it to this day. Which is why I don't, when he's, talking about this thing with credit, I'm like, dude, you're being credited and you are a full participant in this and you never had to fight for it. Okay? You never had to fight for it. So that's why I don't understand this whole thing. Well, I'm going to separate, myself from Marvel. Like, did you never get your royalties? Are you still getting this money? Okay? And you're getting credit. You are well ahead of the pack. So this, positioning of where your name needs to be, this homage that you're looking for, to be quite honest, I think is reserved for, literally, I think that's reserved for maybe, I can only see that with 3, maybe 4 comic creators total. And then everybody else, I think you get your credit when everybody else gets their credit, which is at the end of the movie.
Okay, and this is to say the snub is being, say again so it's clear, it says in this thing, being ignored by Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige on the red carpet before finding his family were not invited to the after party. Right, so this is the big thing. Now, the thing of it is like this. The hard part is if you ever been to a place with the VP that you work with. When I was at HBO and I was a temp worker, we had a VP. No, the thing of it is business, right? So at the same time, when there'd be parties and I'd see the VP. And we were friendly, and we joked around from time to time, but when the party was going on and she was with the higher ups, the fact that there was time that she could talk to me for 2 seconds and move on with the people, she was working. She's with the people above her. So the 2 seconds she gave to me, was surprising, because at the same time and they're saying, well, we're at a Deadpool thing, I need to do this. Who knows? If there's a slight, but at the same time, does it really matter? I don't know about that.
That's the other thing, is it even a slight?
Yes.
That's the other thing I have to go, is like, oh, look how shabbily I'm being treated. I'm the creator of Deadpool. And at some point be like, okay, you are. Now what? Now what at the end of the day? I'm not, well, again, that's why I always wonder if there's a little bit more to it, because you're there in a capacity that so many creators, especially comic creators, are not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are not. All right? Forget about Brubaker. Again, Jerry Siegel had to write an open letter.
Yes, yeah.
several newspapers. And he didn't write a letter to those newspapers extolling the virtues of what he did with Superman. He wrote a letter cursing. He put a curse on the film.
Yes, he did.
He put a curse on that film, and that's where it was at the end of the day. So, you really want to look at that. You really want to look at that comparison. Full participant, fully acknowledged. Other dude, to the point, so embittered, okay, towards his own creation, wrote a story where he killed off Superman, the first one ever, okay, and then curses. I put a curse on the movie. That's where he was at. So these different thing at the end of the day. And I'm really not sure. Again, we're not invited to the after party. These type of things. I'm like, I'm just not sure what's supposed to happen. I think, the layman might say, well, yeah, you should be invited to the after party, so on and so forth. But then I'm like, okay, but do you have any connection with these people aside of the fact that you created this particular character? Because if you don't, then yeah, this very possible you're not going to be invited to the after party because the majority of people don't know who you are. Feige may know, oh yeah, Rob Liefeid created, Deadpool, but he's not the guy who's going to get you the tickets.
Yeah. And this is the hard part because he talks about, I guess, trying to send a letter about Roy Thomas getting credit as editor-in-chief for Wolverine, and he also inquired about his credits, this, that, and the other, and not really hearing anything from them. He says it's not as easy as pushing, it's not the easy button. I'm not the easy button at Staples. I'm a human imagination behind it all, that sort of thing. And the thing of it is like this. We have to recognize that the idea of Disney owning Marvel was that ultimately the feeling was that the credits would leave the titles. Like ultimately the way Disney worked was you couldn't, like artists who were out of regular work couldn't do commissions of Mickey. Like they would shut it down. They found out artists were doing commissions of Mickey, they would get shut down. They want to keep everything in control. And the fact that, and Marvel had done it before, this is the thing, anything you wanted to address, well, at the same time, the credits for the Marvel Universe was from the Marvel Studios, where they came up with the based on, these creations, which obviously they were based on. They weren't the same characters. They were close to it, but they had some different motivations, different things. They were very close. They could change. Not to say this is not say like all right, like Tony Stark is more like a Joe Manganiello with the mustache, and then we have what's his name? That's not a slight on Robert Downey Jr. It's just saying this is what more the look is. So there is changes that happen. So it's like based on. So this is what we know. We know from Spider-Man in the 70s. We know from the Hulk in the 70s that this sort of thing. And at that point, they didn't. I don't think they had creator credits on those TV shows. They might say the work of Marvel Comics or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what was said. The work of Marvel Comics. Why? Because Marvel Comics owned everything.
Yes. So that's the way it used to be. And the fact that Disney had not changed it, they kept that on there, the special thanks and the based on the works of these people. Yes, you can decide that you want it, but at the same time, they're not, they've already paid a lump sum they're not paying the people. The Kirby trial, the fact that, the hard part with the Kirby trial is way different from the Siegel and Schuster, different from even what's that thing? The Howard the Duck, right? It's different than any of those cases because there's a period where Kirby went to court for Marvel against Joe Simon, and all of that paperwork, where he said Captain America was created within the studio, and he felt anything created, in the office was basically ownership of Marvel. They didn't let any of that stuff come out. They didn't say, hey, there's possibly, Jim Shooter hints that there possibly more, but they decided we'll settle, we gave you X amount of dollars. We're gonna up that, and we want to celebrate Kirby and this thing. Can you guys agree to that? And Neil's agreeing to it, but Kirby is kind of coming out and asking for more now. But they're also using the fact that, hey, we won the court case. No, there was a settlement between the two. They didn't settle because they had to, because ultimately they didn't have to. It wasn't the case of there was, even though they keep saying there was stuff that Kirby had that he brought to. They keep the hint that they brought something to Marvel was that the Challengers was out. He didn't come there with the Challengers and say, "Hey, we can change the Challengers and make it into something big." And he's like, "Yes, we got here's Spider-Man." Or his Spider-Man's logo, and I'm going to do the same thing. But the thing is, Kirby was a part of Marvel, and when he was in good with them, he sided with them. And they didn't bring out any of that stuff. They did have a trial. They did have people talk about the creation. But none of the stuff, we weren't privy to any of the stuff that Marvel had that Kirby signed to them. And Captain America being one. So the thing is, they did the right thing. They're celebrating Kirby and this, that, and the other, and that's what it is. But turning around and saying, hey, the Kirbys had the suit. The Kirbys initially sued adding Spider-Man in it, and then they took Spider-Man off the suit. So it's like you have another case of people just saying, well, I think my dad was involved, or I think Grandpa was involved in that. He said he was involved. He said it here in this interview too. So like, isn't it? No, it's other people. He got stuff. It's too hard to fight. He said, but he did come over. He said he brought the name with him. He has the logo. Like, no, they changed it. That sort of thing. So
those are your grandfather's tales to you. You're his grandson. Okay, come on.
But the fact that they didn't, haven't brought out everything from the prior case to say, here's a precedent of Kirby saying X, Y, Z. They said they had a court case. They had some Marvel people talk about the thing, and none of those things came out. But you can find them. People have found some of the stuff that's been said in that court case. So ultimately, they settled. They did the right thing. They've been celebrating Kirby. You're not, as much as we'd like them to be, the first thing to see is created by Stan and Jack. Most people would just like it to say it's created by Jack Kirby, but
And Marvel would just like to say Marvel Comics presents.
Yes,
they would just
ultimately Disney would almost like to just say Disney, but they've allowed comic artists to continue to do commissions of the characters. They're saying, hey, they're not doing pornos with our characters, so we'll let the people who are out of work keep doing their commission type stuff. So they haven't been what we thought they were going to be. So yes, as far as a creator, being able to create something and then it becomes a success, and then they say, hey, we want to participate with you and you get equal money, that's not what's going to happen. They're not going to, you sign up and say this is a good deal, and then when you see the movie, why is my name not first? I created it. It wouldn't be here without me. Yeah, but at the same time, you already know that. That's the thing. When you hear there's so many people, there's no, without Claremont and Byrne, the success of Wolverine and the design that Dave Cockrum did for the face, but you also have to say the creators of Lean, Roy Thomas and John Romita and Herb Trimpe drawing the issue. They're all a part of it, but at the same time, it wasn't a success until this point. The people don't go, the Byrne, Claremont, they're not going in there saying, that's mine. Why am I Kitty Pryde? My name needs to be, I'm the one, I have 17 years on the X-Men. Why am I not, the first name on this X-Men cartoon? They knew what they got into. And when the royalties came, they made decent money. Chris Claremont had a plane. It's like now we say, well, they created it. They should just own everything. It's like, yes, it would be great for everyone to be able to re-up, but at the same time, then you'd be expected to, they're not going to let you come to participate and say, all right, now you're creating more stuff for us, we're participating, and you do Major X, and you're like, What is this character? Is this Deadpool again?
Yes.
And then when you're like, what did we sign up for?
Well, I don't know. Well, I'm from a different sort. I don't have what these guys have. I'm much closer to Siegel and Schuster without the name recognition and the great creation that I am to Rob Liefeld. So for me as a layman, it's hard to understand where, like, isn't there a point where you get content where, hey, you have this, character that's done phenomenally well. You didn't get shafted on it. You have credit, you have money, but for me, it's like, well, you didn't get to go to the after party. I'm like, okay, you know, but aren't you content with what you have at this point? Then of course I'll get the pushback. No, you should get everything that's coming to him. Like, okay, fair enough, but I don't miss out on anything. I don't think you're missing out on anything important. And
Dude,
I don't want to use anything. Everything that's coming to my mind could be seen as pejorative. But I think you've made out very, very well, all things considered. And I would think that there's just a level of contentment that should be there instead of the Rob Liefeld. I mean, the Rob Liefeld stunt where we're done, we're not working together any longer until, of course, a good project comes along with the right amount of money.
well, that's the way the way the world works. When they say that saying, the same people you meet on the way up, the same people you meet on the way down. In truth, we got to think about it in reverse, right? Say, um, the thing is, if the fact is, Rob Liefeld, things could change. Like, I mean, he's not hurting for money, right? He's not hurting for money. He's got, if you think comic book art alone, he has good investments. The hard part is if something went left, would he sell his? I don't. I'm not gonna. I'm going too far. Would he sell the artwork? I was going to do a bad joke, but
Do
that's.
it! Do it!
Would he sell his family or
Oh!
the burned art? But sorry, had to they had to go for the
That's
cheap shot. But if you think about it like this,
bad, but a good one. That's bad, but a good one. We
the thing
know the
about
story behind that burn art.
but think about it like this: as far as the way him trying to sell his characters, like at some point he said, "I'm never working on Youngblood anymore." The person, this, that, and the other, they worked the deal, and they're working on Youngblood again. And at the same time, say Youngblood makes it into a movie, right? And the next thing you know, Disney's like, you know what? I think we should license. We should. We don't. I don't want to own it. We just want to license this thing, and like they bring in him into the thing in studio to talk over doing a Marvel Studios Youngblood movie. You think he's not going to take that thing, and Kevin Feige is going to be in there and be gracious? Are you going to be like, F you, Feige? He's like, or they do a Major X movie. This is something closer. Someone decides, I really like Major X. I think there's a lot of differences between him and Deadpool, and it could work. And it's a big thing. And then they say, here, ticket for you and no after and your family, no after party tickets. But if you want to go, you can go to the after party. Like, they screwed me again. I made all this money off of Major X, and I can't take my family to the after party. And they're like,
What did he want at the beginning, where it says like Rob Liefeld presents, like Stan Lee presents, something like that?
no,
Rob,
too though. Oh, what he wanted was,
he doesn't understand. The only reason why those movies said Stan Lee presents because Marvel thought it was good for them. They thought it was good for them. Okay, when the comics say Stan Lee presents, that wasn't because Stan Lee said, "Hey, you know what? No." That was Marvel. Like, no, we think this is going to help sell the books. Stan had no say in it.
that's the hard part is there's the interview, no matter what people says, that they look at it, and he makes money off of well, in the way he said, it didn't sound like he made money off of the cameos, but they asked him, did he, making money off of these movies? He said no. He said, none of them? No. But you created it? No, I don't make money off of them. He said, so what is
No,
this around there? He said, this is POW Entertainment. We do something.
what's the big difference between, say, Stan Lee? This is something I don't think a lot of guys even get. One of the things that's a big difference between Stan Lee and Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld actually gets a percentage of the characters he created. Stan never had that in his deal. Stan was middle management. Stan was a salaried employee. Just like, if you were work for hire, you got your money, that was the end of it. Salary employee, you got your money, that was the end of it. Rob Liefeld was there at a time where creators could benefit. Okay, they could benefit, okay, and fully participate in their creations. So again, it's just that part I said before, I'll repeat. I just don't understand why there's not more contentment on his part. I just don't understand it. All things considered, you're making out better than a lot of the all-time greats. A lot of them.
That's the hard part of it is that it's not just, well, no, the thing is that, Marvel's been bought and sold many times over. There's no way to turn it around and say, hey, is what they're trying to do of, the copyright return, but those are copyright returns of mostly stuff that you came into the company like Siegel and Schuster and said, hey, we got this idea that we're shopping around, and then they publish it. That's the usual thing for a copyright return. Not I am I'm a freelancer and I put forth a Marvel. That's why Marvel sends you their blank pages with even though the artists use the blank pages for other work from time to time. They send you the blank pages so you to work on their stuff, and I think the same, when Rob Liefeld was running his company, he had them do stuff on his paper that he was giving them. So they, artists don't have to worry about it, but it also has a stamp of Marvel on the paper, and DC has the same thing, so it's like, this is the portion of knowing what you're going into. Yeah, in the perfect world, the character becomes a success, and then you somehow continue to, make a better deal, and it gets bigger and bigger. But, ultimately, to get the deal that the Schusters and the Siegels family have now, it took many years, and for the copyrights to finally, the copyright laws to finally really, work in their favor, which took, it could have happened in 76, but, it didn't. So it happened much, much later, so it happened. But to be in a place, you're there. The hard part is that, and this is what a lot of creators knew. They'd be at these cons and they would be with famous people. Like I think Byrne talked about being at a con and being with Margot Kidder, and then like them, having a decent time. And then the next time, she just kind of walks past. It's like for celebrity, someone who's an actual star, it's going to be hard to keep someone in your mind. Where at the same time, you talk about having the same sort of interaction with Yvonne Craig, but throughout the years, him and Yvonne Craig were always friends. They were always talking and this, that, and the other. But it's a different thing between a movie star, a movie exec, these guys. And at the same time, you might, it's not, it's not, hey, I went out and give a pound from them and it didn't happen. The thing of it is that, if you're not in regular talk with them, and you're not in the thing where you're in the room and you're in front of them like this and like saying, yeah, I'm like Rob Liefeld. Rob, we'll see you later. I gotta go. I'm like, no, actually, I'm going to say this last thing about it. I was at for editors, they have some sort of awards thing, and to say the joke, one of the other assistants came to me and said, Max said yes to going to the AICP. We gotta go now. So like I think all of the assistants showed up, and there was a lot of people. But there was a lot of people since I've been in the business for a while, commercial editing. I ran into a lot of people that knew me, and some that had a lot of great things to say about me. But a lot of times was, oh my God, Sam, how you doing? Blah. Hey, I gotta get some to eat. I'll talk to you later. And we go on. On the other side, I did run into the person creating it, this editor, a great editor. She put it all together, and I saw her and I said, hey, Jen, and she came over and we talked for a decent while, and then she went back to business. But it's like, you're going to get sometimes this, but just like saying, hey, the main man that, what's the name, snubbed me. And it's like, yo, You don't have to be there. Next time saying, hey, these Hollywood types, I don't like being around the Hollywood types because one day they say hello, the other day not. It's like, it might be that day. That's it. Like you turned it into the rapper. I got rap beef because what's name ain't say nothing to me. KRS One. Like it's like this whole the thing you shed this thing. Like you shed the I mean in all these other videos I talked about my father. He said he ran into Muhammad Ali and he said the right thing. He said, "Hey champ," and Muhammad Ali said, saw him and said, "Hey." Ran up and shook his hand. He's like, wait a second, I don't know this guy. He said, but on the right day, at the same time, I saw Muhammad Ali when I was a kid with my mother on Chambers Street. And I saw him and I was like, my eyes was getting wider and wider. And he's like, shh. And he walking with an entourage going by. So it's like, and I went back to the story and I didn't know how to pronounce his name. I saw Muhammad Ali. And they said, no, it's Muhammad. Okay, yeah, so I blew it. So it's like, yeah, you have these moments with the people who have to deal with and, deal with a lot of people and you're the head. This is, it's going to happen. And the snub might even not meant anything. It could have meant something. It could have meant a lot. Could have meant, hey, he's all the stuff he's saying. Or it could be like, I was thinking about something else. But this is not to defend or detract. You can come back away from your snub as he's doing, going public with it. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know. Like this, that, and the other. It's like, yo, I go, look at this. I go out with you and to some of your event, right? All I'm trying to do is put my act right on. And I'm saying, I've been around, my brother and our other friend Dennis, and I didn't have my act right on. I was very quiet and to myself. I think I've gotten better over time. But at the same time, now I look at it and say, I wasn't doing, wasn't putting on my best thing. I was just kind of in myself being negative, this, that, and the other, and saying, thinking, oh man, this, that, and the other, whatever. So it's ultimately, think about it. Don't take it too hard. They're Hollywood types, and not to say that that's a bad thing for what's the name, but it could be. It could be any of that stuff. But Rob, it's time to move on from this stuff and not move on to credit because you're not, and not to say he shouldn't. He can say what he wants about Marvel, but at the same time, you signed up for the deal. It's not a bad deal. You want to talk about Kirby? Yeah, that's a different thing. But your deal is not Kirby's deal, and that's the thing that was tough for Image because they were like, we were getting screwed like Kirby, and it's like, I think Stan, his first royalty was on Kiss magazine. I think David Anthony Kraft talks about working with this, and since it was through an outside company, and Stan writing that story for Kiss in the Marvel magazine, that was Stan's first royalty that he got. He got his first royalty on Kiss. So it's like you're receiving royalty on your first fill-in on the X-Men. Yeah, probably received a royalty on what's that thing? Hawk and Dove. So they've been participating with you for a while. So I guess that's about it. Any other last words?
At some point, we have to learn to be content.
Yes, thank you. That's the best way to say it. The brevity of that is perfect. Spinner rack.
We're out.
Out.